good boy would. Get a sweet thing on the side. Home cooking homicide. Side order could be a daughter. And you're looking good. Come on, baby, eat the rich. But the bite of the son of a bitch. Don't mess up, don't you give me no switch. Come on, baby, and eat the rich.
Welcome to the 2 Month Review, the weekly podcast brought to you by Open Letter and 3%, in which we take one big book, break it down bit by bit, read it, talk about it, make jokes, have a good time. This season, we're doing all 3 volumes of Vernon Subutex by Virginie Dupont, and we are in volume 2. We're going up to page 155 today. And I am Chad Post from Open Letter Books, joined as always by Brian Wood, author of Joytime Killbox.
Hi, Chad. I'm feeling very smart and wonderful today for this esteemed cast of characters. I'm ready.
Yeah. Did you take something? Are you on a performance enhancing drug, Brian?
I got a new multivitamin. It's got a little extra sugar in it. I'm feeling great.
I got a little yayo in my brain, ready to do this. Let's talk about Alex Bleach. And we're joined by Derek Maine, who is back for a second time on the Vernon Subutex 3 appearance cycle.
Yeah,
Right, second time for the lineup.
I took my mushroom powder. I'm ready to go.
I'm so disappointed that I'm at work and can't get a little bit buzzed as we do this because
Have you ever taken mushroom powder, Chad?
I've never taken mushroom powder.
Oh, you should try it. It's really good in tea, man. It makes you very cognizant. Is that the right word? Like
Yeah.
you're mentally
Like focused.
Yeah, it actually works. As
Really?
a placebo or not, I don't know about. When I was doing it, I liked it.
I've done mushrooms. Is that the same?
No. This is like holistic, lion's manes and maitake powder, blah, blah, blah.
So I don't get to see my emotions.
No.
Oh, God damn it. Damn it.
No,
So I don't
but your green tea will taste like a butthole. That is true.
I hate mushroom taste. So how are you, Derek? How are things in North Carolina?
Good. Yeah. All the rich people are vaccinated, so they say that the pandemic's over.
So
that's
you're
good. That's how it
vaccinated? You're vaccinated?
Yeah. No, everything's good, man. Life seems to be getting somewhat back to normal here, which is odd when the world isn't all at the same place, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's really opened up here. I mean, we don't have to wear masks officially as of like this past Wednesday. And it's like up to a business if they want to like have a standard. And like, for instance, Brian, Rock Brewing, they sent on, or maybe it was, I don't know. I think it was an email. I think it was like an Instagram post or something I saw that said that their way of doing it was that if you don't want to wear a mask and you're vaccinated, you just come in with your vaccine card and an ID and you can just do whatever you want. But if you're not vaccinated, you have to wear a mask. And that's how they're dealing with it. So like, that's a big difference from like, even like 2 weeks ago. So here it's crazy.
Well, here in Georgia, we just go with the honor system, unless it's voting, and then fuck you. Go on.
Well,
only the people I want can do it.
No, I'm really sorry. Talking about rich people, I heard the report that according to the Cobb County made up statistical information center, you lost $100 million because of the All-Star game being pulled. And when they asked where they got that information and data from, they were like, from us.
Right on.
Nothing to see here.
I'm really glad professional sports are finally taking a stand and doing what is right because they care so much about ethics and the people.
I mean, when the NBA's like contracts and accounting refer to their players as cattle, that's a problem. Minor leaguers are basically slave labor, but at least MLB for once did something. I think we talked about this before, but like the NBA has been so far in front of this, and NFL to a different degree because of the players. But MLB has always been like the shittiest. Like, we don't care about. We're not involved in this. We're American. We're
I still think like Winston cigarettes is in the. There's like a billboard for like Winston filterless cigarettes at like half the ballparks in center field. Still,
exactly.
With all the kids there, like, oh, what's a Winston? Oh, we'll have one on the way home. Depends if you win or not.
Goes with their apple pie. It's just like cigarettes sticking out of an apple pie. Isn't that how North Carolina celebrates birthdays, Derek?
I mean, I'm literally from Winston-Salem.
Yeah.
Where I grew up. So, I mean, you're just speaking my language. Yeah, completely. When I quit smoking in March of last year because I was paranoid about COVID.
Wow.
And, my mom told me that I need to be careful because nicotine is actually good for COVID. So that's like the kind of response you get in my world when you quit smoking.
When I moved to North Carolina in 98, I think it was, Jesse Helms had been like, there's no way we're banning smoking inside in North Carolina ever. And like every restaurant you went to is just like full smoking section. There's no like non-smoking things to even remark on. It was wonderful when you're a smoker. It's shitty.
Yeah, great.
But, so what have you thought of volume 2 so far, Derek? Are you rereading it too, or you just reread the section for today?
I reread just this section for today, but it and I have like the British cover.
Oh boy. So you do know what pages we're doing?
Well, I figured it out pretty well because it's only a few pages off. And
is it really?
Yeah, it's only a few pages off. Like this started for me, I think, at 72 and ended at 157. But so some of the pages are weird. But I mean, that shows you how much I ordered that because when I finished 1, which was out, it was the only way to get 2. And I was like addicted, needed to know what happened.
Yeah.
So I'm rereading this one. I mean, I like it more actually now than I did the second time. My first review of the second one was a little more lukewarm, but I think I have a better understanding of what she's doing, and some of my dislike of the characters was coloring my dislike of the story the first time through.
That's interesting. I was thinking the same. My lukewarm one was actually for number 1, I think. I liked number 1, but then I got the same thing. I was in the UK and I bought number 2 because it was out there. And I read this and was like, oh shit, now I kind of get it. Like I like this even more. I like the insights more, and that the characters have more as they recur are more interesting. And then 3 was the one that I was like, this is a fucking great trilogy. But it is weird because it's propulsive and it builds to that. And it almost feels like if you don't look back at it as a whole, it doesn't all quite seem to make sense yet. Or like I could see where people would be like, I don't know, this is okay. It's not great, but it's great when you see it as the whole thing. But it's kind of like forgetting seasons like 1 and 2 of a show until it like hits that finale that like really makes it run. I don't know. What do you think of this part, Brian?
The first one, like I really enjoyed the kind of like the acceleration and trajectory of the first one, getting to learn the characters and kind of carve out the caves behind their dead soulless eyes as they hate the world that they're in. But it has a lot of energy, and like you can just rip through it, right? And then this one, like I don't know, like I'm starting to like that. The first section we read, I started getting like a detective vibe to it. Like Vernon's gone missing, the tapes go missing. There's like the MacGuffin, and then especially with this section, you get the revelation. Like so that kind of like detective aspect to it really does like come out in this first part, like first 150 pages we've read. And so it kind of, that first one is let's get to know the cast of characters, and the second one now is let's unravel the mystery. And so it's a different mode. And I can see why someone might like the first one more, or expecting more of that, and be a little disappointed that you don't get that right away with volume 2. But I'm really liking the way they're knitting together right now. It feels really smart, really intentional, and much less chaotic than I was expecting.
Yeah. I think it's really important that they do reveal the Alex Bleach tapes that she did at this point. I keep saying
I think that would be like dragged to the very end.
I was shocked.
Yeah, and she makes fun of it. She makes fun of it, saying like, you know, if you drag this out, you're gonna be really disappointed with the revelation. So let's do it right now.
It's like that. I would build this at the end, but are either you watching Mayor of Easttown on HBO? It's like
I watched the first episode.
Yeah, the first episode is very table setting, and it gets really, really, really good. I like the first episode, but the second one in particular really make that show fantastic. And the 5th episode of 7 just aired, and in the 5th one, it reveals like the main, or presumably the main character, or the main murderer, or criminal, whatever you want to say. And I thought that was super cool that you do it not on episode 7 as the finale and wrap everything up, but like have it at this point in time allows for a lot more like revelations to happen. And when we get to it in here, Alex's tapes are like going to be a new engine. Like they were before, of like how to find them or what's on them, where are they valuable, what are they worth, and now it's like, well, what do you do with this? Like when it's just like some high ass pop singer talking about, you know, the death of a porn star and accusing like their big producer, the big powerful French Parisian producer, of killing her through, and not even killing her directly necessarily, but killing her through drugs.
Yeah, I remember like too, especially the first time I got this, being shocked, but also I feel like this is a really turning point section where you're realizing that what you're reading, especially when you know there's a whole nother, you know, book, is not what you thought you were reading. It's like kind of turns right here from, it's not just the MacGuffin, you know, the Infinite Jest videotape or whatever that you're looking for the whole time. Like now, what is it next? And so this part's like a nice little turning point where the story really does from this point on kind of change, you know?
Absolutely.
Especially the way that she bookended on either end of Bleach's tape is Aisha, right? Where she calls Aisha like, hey, it's the daughter of the devil calling, what's going on? How you doing? And then right after, like, yeah, she's probably murdered. And then it goes, the next chapter is, you know, Aisha and her father and how she's become, you know, quote, radicalized. So it's like, oh, what are they going to do with this information?
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes like a hard, like, oh, I can't believe she went in that territory, because you do not expect it to be like this murder mystery revenge plot, but that all like she just plants that mine in this, like in the middle scene of the book. It's really interesting. It
really is. Yeah. I mean, we're not even halfway through this one. So it's like that first third part of it. It is really, really, really well constructed, I think. So we go through by section. Yeah. That first section is the hyena talking about how easy it was to break in and take all the tapes, and partially because Pamela Kant just like says everything she's doing on Twitter constantly. Like I know those people.
Walking my dog. I'll be out for 1 hour. Here's my address. Bye.
Yeah, I'm one of those people, and like I liked how there was I think it was like at first it's annoying, and then the hyena's like, but then it's kind of charming, like, you know what I mean, as you follow her. Like that made me feel a little better.
I like to know later Pamela's like pissed at Vernon, you know, everything he's going through, disappearing, being on the streets. Like, you cost me a lock on my door. Yeah. Like, that's the extent of her sympathies for him. It's like, do you realize what you cost me?
It's great. So we were right that the hyena stole the tapes, which totally tracks and makes complete sense, and that she got them. I did note here, one note that I had from this section was that I believe everyone's born around 66. So we were always right in terms of the age, that if this is taking place around 2012, they're about 45 in 2012. And we know that Dopalet is 45. That's referenced. So you have like some frame for like where they are in their aging curve. So they're like just older, like just a little bit older than I am, essentially.
Slackers.
But yeah, they're like they're like the people that were informing the artistic things I was listening to growing up.
Yeah.
Like the real Gen X people, I suppose.
And they saw a real change in the way that art is sold, the platform. Like, you know, they really saw the death of a generation, in a sense, in the way that, at least the way that art's disseminated. And that's a big thing, I think, throughout this section, and all of it is it's over. And so looking back is, you know, it's bittersweet.
There's a sense too, like Vernon would kind of be the hub for all these spokes, that record store, right? Because that's kind of like the last vestige of holding on to, you know, that time, that era, you know, and even that's disintegrating, right? But
yeah, I mean, even though it's like records are back, it's not really the same thing.
But a record store.
Yeah, record store. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we have the record archive here, but they survive, I think, by selling beer. and not just records anymore. And like, I don't know if that even like that sort of like stereotype of the record store owner who's like pulling out the right CDs and like almost like DJing and a record store experience and knows every song and is like snotty and shitty towards customers. Like, I feel like that's been played out, but that would have been at this period of time. And that nowadays record store clerks are probably, I'm going to fucking annoy a lot of people, but they're probably just like Barnes & Noble clerks where it's like, what do you want? Here, I know how to work the cash register. Thank you for your purchase.
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about it last time, like the change from like a person to an algorithm. Like now that's like sort of the way that you find new music and stuff. And I think those record stores exist, in some places, but it really is dependent on, I mean, this is Paris, so there's probably still record stores like that. But, in smaller, non-huge cities, like you're just not going to find that.
No.
Yeah, that's the most endearing part of that John Cusack movie where he owns the record store. Where he plays the beta band Dry the Rain, and he's like, "Watch, I will sell 8 copies of this because these idiots don't know how good this song is." And like everybody's like just digging it by the time it's done, and like give you something you don't know you want. And it's kind of like the indie bookstore. Like there's so much information, there's so much stuff out there. Like I don't know what I want, and Amazon sucks at helping you, or Barnes & Noble sucks at helping you with that. But that person at the bookstore can be like, oh, if you like, Nick Hornsby, check out. Have you heard of Vernon Subutex? They're like, huh? They're like, they could put that in your hand, like, oh, Kathy Acker plus Funny plus this. You here, read this. Yeah. And just blow your mind for you. And we're losing that a little bit.
So we have a recommendation. Kate Shrod from the chat recommends that we read Jeff Gordner's X Saves the World about how Generation X has been preserving the best of prior generations' culture via weird introverted hobbies. I haven't heard of this, but that sounds like right up the alley.
Yeah, that's nailed it.
And to make this like dark and weird in a way, I got the new issue of Harper's yesterday, and it has a whole long article, like super ass long. I haven't read all of it yet. Article about
long article from Harper's? No way.
Like 45 pages long. I feel like I'm like literally this is a guy's thesis, but it's this professor of media studies who went and stayed in one of the TikTok mansions that became into existence when the pandemic hit, where these investors or sometimes the TikTok influencers themselves bought these giant mansions throughout like LA and California and use them as like a quote unquote, in their words, a school to train people how to be influencers and to do this. And it's wild. Like it is the opposite of what it's related where like you have the record store owner who's like, this is cool. And these kids are just like, oh, we're just going to make a dumb fuck Macarena sort of dance that will get 1 million views. And then will make us like $50,000. And some of the numbers that are in the opening sections of this are astonishing. Like 15% of all global ad revenue is spent on like Instagram and TikTok.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And they were like, they tell the guy, he's like, I didn't think they'd let me in because they know I'm just like not into this. And they're like, no, you can come and like maybe if you make a good clip or a good whatever, you make a good talk and you get some of the influencers in the house to tag you, you'll get 1 million followers and then you'll be able to like monetize it.
Yeah, and like I'm really trying not to be the old. I'm really not trying to be the old fogey or like the old man yell at clouds, but there is a distinction, I think, between wanting to become an influencer or whatever, just to influence, as opposed to a true lover of whatever it is. If it's music, if it's books, if it's skincare product, it doesn't matter. But I mean, like for them, it doesn't seem to matter what's being sold or what's being pushed, like it's all about just being, an influencer. And there is something like lost when you actually like really care about something.
Oh yeah. We need to pull the plug on this. Somehow, some way, someone get on that. But yeah, it is all these things kind of tie together. So yeah, and like she references that Dopalet is going to pay whatever she wants for these tapes because it's and mentions, like she said, like it's not he's mentioned in there. He's afraid of it because he's been mentioned within this context. And even the things when we get to it there that are said are horrific, but they're not specific enough, in my opinion. And this is maybe something that we we could jump ahead to or get more into is like, what, you know, are they specific enough to cause like a criminal investigation? Are they specific enough to really threaten his lifestyle? And at the same time, he doesn't want any of that out there. So she can manipulate it and makes that choice then that she kind of hems and haws over of like, you know, what do we do? What do I do? I could get the cash. I'm in this for cash, not for the beautiful game of like showing people and playing with this, with giving them this information or allowing them to have the tape. But I don't know. It's interesting. She's in like, that's her moral conundrum of the moment. Then how to figure out how to get into bed with his assistant.
That's what I love that Virginie does in that though, is that in mentioning the overdose, it's like you can't take it to the police because she's a sex worker and she OD'd. There's nothing to investigate. Done. And
it's not like Alex didn't know that she was an addict.
Yeah, and so I really like the way that Virginie kind of just, again, like plants that little thing in there. Like she's fantastic at kind of showing you how screwed up things are, and just this with like one little flick of the wrist.
Yeah.
And so it's like, even like, no, there's not enough there because people don't care. And there's assumptions as to if you're in this industry and you are this person, that's just what it is. Sorry, goodbye. Like, exactly. And how wrong that is. And so that just makes me think like something's going to have to happen where they take it into their own hands if there's going to be any kind of justice or investigation into this. Like it's
that was actually a question I was going to ask you is, yeah, because it does seem to be like part of the book is set up as like these systems, like what you said of like, that was the last generation that went through the system exploiting the labor for more and more and more money. So you lose the records, you lose the CDs, you get everything falls apart, but Dopalet remains in power. And like, where is the power going to come from? Like,
sure, but even before that with the systems, like it's like Alex Bleach warms up with talking about being the expectations of being a black kid.
Yep.
Right.
Which we haven't talked about at all on here. I don't remember if it's referenced in the first one exactly, but I remembered us obviously, but like that he is black. He's I think the only black character we've encountered, correct?
The only explicitly, I mean, the only one I can,
yeah,
the only one where blackness is part of the identity. You know, there could be one, you know, but yeah, I think so. And it's interesting. His own reflections of his own race are not how I would expect it. You know, like he's conscious of it, but it's not how I'd expect him to be about it.
Yeah, and let's get into that too. And that his name is Bleach.
Oh yeah.
He calls himself an Oreo, and you know, I'm white on the maybe I am white on the inside. Like, what would you expect me to be? Or like it was a really interesting rant that he had.
Yeah, it really is.
I wanted to look it up before I came on, but I didn't have time. But there's this YouTube video, talk about the algorithm. Like, I don't know why I was listening to Motörhead. Well, I know why I was listening to Motörhead, but yeah. I don't know why this one showed up. But it was Lemmy was reading fan notes. And this one fan note was like, hey, Lemmy, I'm the only black kid in my neighborhood. And I listen to Motörhead. And everybody makes fun of me for it, and like just wondering what you think of like. And he has this answer to like, here's Lemmy, like Lemmy who wears like Nazi paraphernalia because it quote looks cool because they have better uniforms. That's the only reason he wears it. He doesn't care about anything what anybody thinks. And like giving advice to this kid on like, you know, if you want to be into something, be into it. Like who cares? And like it reminded me a lot of this Alex Bleach part. So like. And then I saw that Virginie has the Motörhead shirt on, so I wonder if she'd ever seen that video or not. That's inspiration for it,
and he references Motörhead in here as well.
Yeah, he references Motörhead, but there's this video where Lemmy is giving advice to like this kid that gets bullied for listening to Motörhead because he's it's not quote black music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So let's jump to Alex's section, but just to recap, there's a mini section about Vernon who runs into someone, I don't think she has given a name in here, who's like, she's like, I need $80 to get to a hotel. I have AIDS. I'm dying. And he's like, you might lead with that.
Wait, I underline that line. Again, her humor is so dark and so biting.
It was true that when trying to start a conversation, AIDS was probably not the best icebreaker.
Yes, that's what it was.
Good work there too, showing how new he is to homelessness. You know, like we've got the older whatever homeless dude being like, "Can you help her? Do you have money? Then leave it alone."
Not the best icebreaker.
It's that understatedness that's so wonderful about it too. Sort of like when Vernon when they finally bring him down to see everyone, and they're like, "Oh my God, we're so good to see you, so good to see you." And the hyena's like, "People call me the hyena. You don't look your best." Like that touching scene where she takes him in the shower and helps him, start to end that disorientation. That I guess it is worth talking about his section a little bit more, but in the sense that like the style of writing goes from that like sharp, clean, like direct writing style that she has for a lot of the other parts, where it gives you that clear like insight into the people's minds, to where he feels foggy and doesn't know what it's like to be around people anymore. He's been on the street for long enough, even though it's not that long. He's like, not in a good physical way, and like just doesn't know what's happening when people are around him. And the prose starts to change and reflect that a little bit too, which is fun. But yeah, so like let's get into Alex's thing more. I don't know if there's anything that we didn't already talk, but he does walk through that fun bit of like the 90s. Like
before we get into Alex, that I did like. So she sets us up with the humor, right? And then like not wanting to be found, and like the other homeless people are like, "Hey, like there's all these people showing up asking around for you," and he's like, "Oh God," like like it's very, very, very funny. But then, like you said, being taken in the shower and then not expecting any emotion and watching the tape, and then starting to feel things as he's seeing his dead friend on the screen, right? As he's just been brought back out of homelessness. So it's a really neat setup to take us into watching the tape as well. I thought it was a really cool move she did to do just a little bit to like get us in the right mind frame to be participants to watching that video. Yeah, really cool.
I do love how Alex keeps referencing how Vernon is just sleeping and snoring through everything. He's like, "You got so much cocaine in you. How are you doing this?"
Olympic level sleeping.
Fun. Really, yeah, but it is super dark. So he gets involved with to get to that part of it, and we can kind of circle back to the more larger social context of his relationship to music, that he's playing rock, and they're like, "You need to make a jazz album or hip hop album or whatever." And he's like, "No, I just play rock music. I don't understand that." And it always works. Like I think it's a hyena says this, that like he was a fuck up in every way except that he made albums that sold and did good concerts. And like if you're good at the one thing you need to do, you could be shitty at everything else, and and you'll get away with it. But he gets involved with Vodka Satana when she after she's left Salim and like had other events that have happened in her life, presumably. And he's involved with her, but then they split up. And part of it is related to like how much coke and how much everything they're doing, all the drugs that they're doing, and trying to get her clean and trying to take care of her. And he'd go away and she'd seemingly go on benders. And he'd try and like mediate this rather than like really. And it's that seems like a really interesting and like weird position where like he is trying to help her, but what he's not helping her with in the end is actually a solution. Like he's like, I'll give you a little bit of the drugs. We'll just like cut back, or like we'll do this. And like that situation of like the friend who's trying to help the addict without the full ability to do so leaves the addict still like an addict.
Well, that's I mean, I think that ring really true to my experiences of what I've seen and been through in sort of punk houses and stuff in my 20s and whatever, about when everyone is doing things together and one or two people maybe go a little further. They're, doing it either more frequently, or maybe they've gone up a notch in the, from coke to heroin, say, and you do have those people like Bleach here that they don't seem helpful, really like on the surface, but even just like easing someone back is kind of the most he could do. And that was I thought that was a big theme in general to his thing, is about his limitations and his abilities. Like when it came to making people feel good, like he's really good at making people feel good for a short temporary amount of time, no matter in what context, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Is it in his thing that he says something like that? Like, he's just like, people just, or is it somewhere else where they're like, people just like him?
Well, he definitely says, like, he's talking about the sleeping around, and he has that interesting thing that's like, it's not the first time, you know, that someone comes on to you, you can say no. The second time you can say no, but the third time that a model or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and he kind of goes through that and not being able, I can't remember if Hyena says it or if he says it, about not being able to basically be what everyone wants, you know, for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But that's the vibe, that he can make you temporarily happy, comfortable, or feel good, almost like a drug in it himself, you know, but he cannot lead you to the end of whatever that is. He can't love you forever. He can't help you quit drugs. He can't pay your rent forever. All those sort of things. He is this fading star in and out of your life.
Right. That is very interesting. And he does, they're related to that representation of like him in regards to other like other record producers and everything else, is like in relation to his parents and his mom. He's like, I wouldn't be seen with her because like her mom was already like freaking out that he was like a rock star. If she saw him with a porn star in like a People magazine or whatever, like that would have flipped her shit. Like there is like a lot of that back and forth of like how much is revealed of him and how much does he reveal and how much of it is a persona, or is a rock star persona, is a rock star moment versus his actual being. Brian, you have thoughts?
Yeah, well, just out of curiosity, I'm always trying to wonder if Alex Bleach is based off of real people or not. Not that, you know, there's some, you know, obviously there's stars that, you know, OD and stuff, but just like that type of person that everybody kind of leeches onto, that kind of is a trendsetter, that you know, is like a thermostat in the room who can control things, and you know, but is very fleeting at the same time. Like I'm just kind of like, we're just curious if it's based off of real artists or, you know, yeah.
The level of fame he has is so insane, you know, like where it really made me wonder kind of similarly, did she know someone that made that level of, because she was obviously involved in, you know, the music scene, stuff like that. Did she know someone that rocketed to that level of fame? Because that's a really interesting part of this, is that most people don't know anybody that famous, like from before they were famous. And so all these people have these impressions of him as a person, but he's no longer a person, you know?
Yeah, like it almost kind of reminds me of the artist Basquiat. Is it Basquiat? Mm-hmm. Basquiat, right? Where like just like shows up on the scene and is just, everybody is just magnetized and leached, like just, it is the it thing. Like this is it. This is the thing right here. This person, and everybody wants a piece of it, wants to be about it or whatever, and like they're just kind of aloof and going through with it and giving people a good time when they can, but it's like it's so draining at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you're not allowed to be a person anymore. Basquiat's a great example, because even now, like, it's just a T-shirt symbol, you know, like a king thing, you know, like it's a brand, it's all this other thing. And so when people think about the life, like I was really into that HBO show Painting with John, which was John Lurie, and he was in this Lounge Lizards band with Basquiat back in the 80s or whatever. Yeah. And one of the few people that like knew him at that time, and sort of similar vibe where it's like, he has nothing to say about the Basquiat that you and I know, because he knows a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one thing, I know Brian has a time constraint, so we'll move this along a bit, but he does talk about what Dopalet's relationship to Satana is that she gets involved with him, starts doing way more drugs, way more everything. And in fact, like, this is her description. So she says like he's done all these things, but like, you know, he is going to kill me. He told me if I didn't, I'll tell you, I'll get to it. So, but she says that what really turned him on, Dopalet on, was seeing me fucked up. I get fucked by old guys. The guys piss on me, get tied up in dungeons. He can't get enough. He pays me in coke. During the day, I think, I'm never seeing that fucking pig again. But that night I'm at his place. If I struggle, they hold me down. If I start crying, they just carry on. That's his thing. And I keep going back. He's got blow. He's got money. I'm just shit. And it also starts with her being introduced to him and being anally raped by him on like a casting couch situation. So he has like the Harvey Weinstein sort of level of shitbaggery and abuse, and has like created a situation where she is like literally hooked and is like I don't even know what you'd say. Like she's like a thing that he uses for on all these like degrading and horrible ways. And then she says that she kept the name of all the politicians that she had slept with through his connections and would release it. And told him that if you want me to keep my mouth shut, you're going to have to pay and pay well. And he said he's going to kill me and he'll do it. And then a few days later, she dies of an overdose. And like you said, there's no way to be like this. He killed her because like his intent, but at the same time, his intent always was to kill her.
I have a hard time believing that people in power and politicians would screw somebody over like that.
Nope.
The people involved that were providing these terrible, that was providing this might end up dead.
I mean, it's interesting how many parallels there are to so many people right now.
This seems beyond the pale to me. That people in power would be doing stuff like that. I don't know. It was really creepy, like really, really, really creepy. Reading that part.
Yeah, it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. There's a mention in the comments from Kate again that is it possible that this Satana Dopalet relationship prefigures what's happening with Marcia and Kiko, where Kiko has the money, coke, and keeping her in the house, and like that sort of like grooming for these particular reasons. And like, and the thing about it that struck me last night when I was reading this part again, and how she's describing what he did and how she was used, is that she's being treated as like disposable in a way. Like she is there for him to like drug up and to fuck and have other people fuck and use as like a thing until she's done. And that's really unnerving.
And Kiko's almost more possessive.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like Vernon gets tossed out because, that is mine. Don't touch my stuff. Right? It's like that kind of a villainy, whereas this is just like, good Lord.
Even though one thing I don't remember we mentioned this, but I don't, in the Kiko sections, I'm not sure Kiko knows that Marcia is trans.
I never know. Yeah, I mean, it's been a year or so since I read that section, but I don't think that was clear.
I think when he's describing, he's like this woman, how she walks and like really like sexualizes her as a female body. But I don't remember if that comes up later at all. I can't. Those details are beyond me.
I think he knows. I don't know why I know, but I think he knows.
Okay. Yeah. Either way, it is a scary and weird sort of parallel. But yeah,
these men in power and then the abuse that they're putting on people for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that Dopalet is untouchable in a sense.
Yeah.
It's big, but yet Alex would be like, I'd get fucked up and I'd call him up and yell shit at him. Like accuse him.
Yeah, it's like the most you can do, right? I mean,
you can do.
Yeah, that's why there's like a Kill Bill fantasy element to this in general, of revenge, because it does feel like almost like writing this is the most you can do even now, because these are real power structures. That's what she's so good at describing. And the only real revenge it feels like you can get is through just like an artistic one.
Like, yeah, for anyone who is abused or fucked over through the Jeffrey Epstein situations, like what can you possibly, this is a little bit different, but not so much, is that who is the guy? It's ironic in a horrible way that I have a Michigan State shirt on at this moment, but the gymnastics, what's his name?
Larry Nassar.
Like the fact that he's convicted and all that, that's good, but that's not really, in the end, it's super satisfying. And he's one of the few people that really did get caught and punished, so to speak.
Yeah, but like Penn State or Ohio State with the wrestling, the systems are never reformed to the point where the next, bad apple or bad guy, always a guy, can come in and wreak havoc on people's lives, and so that's what's, I think, interesting, is that it's not individualizing it to one person almost dulls it and lessens it. It'd be great if there was just one evil villain out there, but it's not. It's the systems that are set up.
Yeah, exactly.
I find it interesting too with Kiko and his relationship. Again, I think he can be abusive and doesn't have to worry about repercussions because, again, it's to somebody who is trans and immigrant. Mm-hmm. And so what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Right. And the same way with Vodka Satana. Like you're a porn star. That's a cokehead. What are they going to do?
What are they going to do? Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And this is like the Harvey Weinstein situation in a lot of ways. What are you going to do? You're just not going to be in Hollywood. You're not going to be powerful anymore.
So why is he so scared then? I just keep coming back to that in my head. Like, why would he go to any links to pay for this video or whatever? I mean, I guess there would be some bad publicity, obviously. But if we watched him say the video, Alex Bleach is coked out of his mind and crazy, and so easily could dismiss it as this coked out rock star is talking crazy.
The Hyena references that too, and it's like, well, all the shit that Dopalet had me do to ruin his reputation online and make all these fake accounts and like take him down, like, neutralizes this.
Yeah.
Like people aren't going to take him seriously. And I think that those people are afraid of, like, if there's a thread, it could they could be replaced.
But doesn't it circle back? It also can circle back to like Alex Bleach OD'd alone in a hotel in a way where like the people closer to him are like, that's not the way he goes out. That's not like him.
Yeah.
And so then you have that happens to Vodka Satana, then it happens to Alex Bleach, right? And he has that tape out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really think that like those people are afraid of getting in trouble because then they won't be the most powerful.
Yeah, I can see that, because as long as there's always one person ahead of you or whatever that, is saying, well, just throw him under the bus. It's like thinking that like Jeffrey Epstein dies, so now there's no more child, like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or that he was like that, the head and the leader and the only whatever. I guess there is an aspect of that. But I think Bleach sounds kind of, to go back a little bit to the thematic qualities of his monologue, I think he sounds like batshit a little bit at times, like really discombobulated. Even when stuff makes sense, it's as asides, it's tangents, so he doesn't seem like altogether there during this.
I mean, he's high as shit.
Yeah, he's really high.
Like, and I'm not sure I'm not sure how much of it is batshit and how much of it is her. I don't know. I'm definitely not a Coke person. But I don't know how much of that is like what it's like when you're on Coke, sort of rambling, versus him being. I mean, I guess he's always on Coke, so it doesn't make any difference. And he says that too. Like, well, all we did was like we made the shit and we just got fucked up. The most important thing when we were in a band was the free drinks.
Objection, Your Honor. That's fruit from the coked up tree. Inadmissible.
Yeah, there's two like is mentioned in the chat that it is the personal image too. That someone like him doesn't want his personal image tarnished, a la Mr. Donald Trump.
Yeah, I do like the character description at the very beginning when you get our persona.
Oh yeah,
persona, right? It says for him, film producer, warning, public menace.
Right? That is great. So here's the last section is Salim's section, where he talks about, mostly in relationship to Aisha and the fact that she now knows about her mom and about how her mom died, and like more of that situation and his relationship to her and how they had been like very close. And then there's this riff as she became more religious and he's very secular. And like that sort of causes problems with him, even in relationship to like the other people he sees on his like liberal team of people, where they're like, oh, you should let her, that's good. And like at the same time they have like it's like different standards and sort of like level of hypocrisy that he sees between like how people relate to judging others interests or identities or aspects of their identity.
And this is why it's so important that we have to fight critical race theory being in our education system. Because how many white dads, in the South and other places are going to lose their relationship with their kids when they start asking tough questions that Papa just don't want to talk about. It's gonna fracture our families and the fabric of America.
Oh my God.
I do like how the right before the end of that section with him, he is seeing someone look at her hijab, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and he's like, "What do you look at? It's just a hijab, whatever." But like he only is able to do that when it's like his daughter, like someone in his life. Otherwise, you imagine he would be that way, to someone else's thing. And that reminded me in general of just like how most of that social change stuff about identity only comes about when we know someone in our lives, that is diverse, that is different, because then we can contextualize it and not make it into a stereotype.
Good point.
This is a good line that sort of hits that too. Nonetheless, it had been particularly heartrending to see her turning to a religion that he knew when they had spent his life freeing himself from. And it's sort of like even like taking it out of the Muslim context of which there is in Islam that is much more complicated and obviously like way more layers of social commentary and racism. But like, even as like someone who's like not a Catholic, like if my kids were suddenly like, oh, I love the church and the Pope, and I way into it, I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, don't fucking do that. But then like, that's the least liberal thing you can say of like,
No.
You can't make your own choices here, buddy.
What would you do if like it wouldn't happen? So this is a really bad thought experiment, but like you're driving down where that one, I forget the name of the street, but we all know it. You and I both know it. It's where those like 4 people picket the abortion clinic.
Oh, and you're not allowed to honk at them anymore.
And like you just want to throw a brick at them when you're driving by.
Yeah.
But like, what if it was like your kid got radicalized and thought like, no, like life begins at first kiss, and so like even before, and so we can't be murdering them, and the whole thing like don't murder baby sign, like that's your kid.
This is
What do you do?
This is where I get canceled, but I treat those people every time they wave at me and I bike by them, is I flick them off and say, fuck you, and keep riding. And if it was my kid, I would say, fuck you, and flick them off and keep riding.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the job, right? As a dad is like, I mean, my daughter can't come home Southern Baptist one day. I mean, that's just, I've got to do the work beforehand. My son can't come home a Duke fan. There's just certain things that you like gotta,
But again, I think it's the brains of her writing, because in that father-daughter situation, I see both people as being right and I see both people as being wrong. And so she constantly does that, where you have to hold these two things in your hand at the same time and look at it and be like, wow, the world is really complex, and it's really hard to be judgmental and hate people, because we are all like very complex, twisted individuals.
Absolutely. I think that's really well said. And honestly, that's the thing I get most from a second go through.
Yeah.
Just, she does have such a love for really screwed up people. And then you start to read it more and you're like, and I'm really screwed up too. And you know what I mean? Like, and you really get to like analyze sort of the way that we walk around judging the Southern Baptist or whatever it is. Like, she definitely holds a mirror to that in a really cool way.
They're all undesirable, but we like them because of their desires.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Salim had been, this is one short little bit, but talking about Salim going to see her tutor, her Naman. Salim had already been to check him out, this tutor. He hoped that he would encounter a fanatic, a dangerous manipulator. He would have liked to uncover a recidivist pedophile. No one can tell him that Catholics have a monopoly on hypocritical perverts. There's nothing more universal than vice decked out like virtue. Which is like right on. that is even in some regards like speaks to the sort of like posturing on online stuff as well, of like the virtue signaling.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, what else do you want to add?
I got to run in a moment. Can we do some favorite lines?
Do you have a favorite line?
Yeah.
I have a really simple one. My
Sure.
favorite line is on 137, and it just says, email has become a nightmare. Although I do also think that the section sitting in a university and I take my pot shots. This description of like the other people that he works with now that he's like doing administrative work in charge of his department, and the people he works with are fantastic. Like Francois, every time someone asks Francois a question, he shrugs and mutters, "Doesn't matter what I think. Nobody gives a shit." Nobody has nothing to do with them. And then they have like I believe an administrative assistant, Norel, a dragon. Her approach is very effective. The minute somebody asks her something, she screams. Needless to say, people think twice before bothering her.
All right, I got mine. I'm in that different version, so I'm at 113 of the British version. It's real short, and it's just during his Alex's monologue. It's not the music that's changed, it's us. We're petrified with fear. And I love that is, because as we all get older, it's like there is that sort of nudge for us to say like, oh, everything's changed or whatever. And it's not. Like the energy of that youth and music and culture, that's not changed. We get older and we get afraid.
I like that.
And really make shitty music that you use in TikTok videos.
Yeah, exactly. Mine is on page 81. And Alex Bleach was an equal opportunity disappointment. From the hit tour manager to the old friend opening a neighborhood bar and relying on him to show up. From the editor-in-chief of Vogue to the little quadriplegic girl to whom he had promised an interview for her blog campaigning for disability rights. His reputation as a useless asshole preceded him, and no affinities of friendship would change his modus operandi.
Yep.
That's great. Yeah.
Love that section.
Did you guys end really wanting a hug from Vernon? Like, I really, really want that hug. It's amazing.
It's true. It's kind of fantastic. Like he's we don't know his name, and he's kind of the most transparent character.
Yeah.
Okay, we have here.
Oh yeah, I know you have to go. Anything you want to plug or say before we leave?
No, nothing at all. Everybody be well, be safe, and have a little more compassion and kindness to strangers, because we've all been through a lot as we're getting out there.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah, and rate and review the podcast. Tell your friends. Do all that kind of fun stuff. Read the books. And thank you, Derek, for round 2.
Yeah, man.
You prepared for the Generation Next Utopia soon.